Welcome to the University of Rio Grande campus, where we're going to have another episode of Safety Net. We have again with us Lieutenant Barry Call of the Gallia Post and a special guest, Sheriff Matt Champlin of the Gallia County Sheriff's Department. Good afternoon. My name is Scott Borden. I'm the campus police chief for the University of Rio Grande. We have with us today my co-host, Lieutenant Barry Call of the post commander of the Gallia Post of the Ohio State Highway Patrol, and a special guest, Matt Champlin, Sheriff of Gallia County. And hopefully we'll have some topics today that will interest you about the local area and the Tri-County area, about law enforcement. And as we always start out with, I'll ask Lieutenant Call to talk about what's going on in the Highway Patrol in the local area at his post.
Thank you, Chief. Business is normal at the Gallia Post right now. We are preparing for some initiatives this month, as well as into November. First off, we got Bobden's Farm Festival this weekend. We'll be handling traffic duty there on 588. But going further into the month, we'll be having a school bus safety week, October 20th, where we have troopers riding some school buses to hopefully, if they see some violations, they can report violations to officer on the road. Plus, it gives us time to interact and talk to the kids that are on the school bus. Along with that, we also are preparing to assist the Athens Patrol Post for their annual Halloween block party at the end of the month. Where we deploying about 6 troopers from the Gallia Megs Post to Athens to help with traffic control and crowd control. And also, we are actively working our traffic safety programs, OVIs, safety belts, speed. We have several initiatives into the month of November where we'll be posting some additional hours for troops to get on the road and hopefully make an impact in that area.
Well, and that's the thing I think a lot of people don't realize is when an event like Bob Evans goes on and the block party at OU is how many different agencies and your people are involved with our people, and the Sheriff's Office obviously is a big part of that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But first of all, our special guest, Sheriff Matt Champlin. We're very honored to have you here today, sir. And
thank you, Chief.
Like to do is maybe start out of just maybe telling us how you got into law enforcement, where you started, and how you became sheriff.
Sure. So I've got about a 21-year career. I started by going through the Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy. Received my first full-time job as a law enforcement officer with the City of Gallia Police Department, where I actually retained employment until 2017 when I took office here at the Sheriff's Office.
And I have to imagine it's a very humbling experience to be elected sheriff or to any office in this country, and it had to give you a great deal of humbleness and be proud and to and have just a extended desire to serve the citizens of Gallia County.
It is. It's a great honor to serve the citizens here in Gallia County. I've been very blessed throughout my career to have many great experience, which is I feel has set me up and prepared me to assume the role as the sheriff here in Gallia County. But we've got a lot of great people here in Gallia County. Again, it's an honor to serve them. I have a goal in mind for my tenure here as sheriff, and that is to create an environment here in Gallia County that's conducive for us all to live comfortably and raise our families here in a safe community. And
that's a very worthy goal for, especially we have all our college kids that come here and they travel back and forth, the local commuters and the kids that live here. Your department and State Patrol plays a very large part in keeping those kids safe when they come to and from our faculty. So might as well get into that. We'll get to a couple other things later, but we talked about earlier, I think, Barry, you said you 23 years? 27, Sheriff 21.
Yes.
I've going on 41 years in law enforcement. And while some people believe there's too many cops out there, too many law enforcement officers, we probably all believe that there isn't enough. But interagency cooperation is just a really big deal with all of us, and I think if we can't do it together, as corny as it may sound, it just doesn't work. And maybe just both of your thoughts on how your feelings on interagency cooperation and how you think it works in this county. I'll start off by saying, you know, the State Patrol has been great to this university. They help us out at the Bob Evans Festival. We just have thousands of people here for the fireworks. That would never work without you guys. They help us out on graduation. Sheriff, your people have been great helping us on graduation, commencement, homecoming, all those type of events. Some of our more serious investigations, you've been kind enough to send your very competent detectives out to help us. And, you know, I just, like I said, not to overplay it, I'm very proud of the relationship that we've all had, and it just makes you realize how important it is to all get along and the mission that we all have. And when you look past the petty jealousies of all the other things that go into it, the money and things like that, the bottom line is, like you had said earlier, we have a mission, and I think all three of us, as well as Gallia Police Department and the other people, are all big parts of that mission.
I think so. You know, I think it's imperative. We all got into this business for a reason. Part of that reason is to serve. You know, we are servants to the people, and overall, I think the public perception is that we are law enforcement. We are the law enforcement community. We're not the State Patrol. We're not the University Police Department or the Sheriff's Office. We are all here collectively trying to accomplish the same goals. I think it's very important, especially in our region. The rural region that we live in, and the lack of funding, I'll just say it, that we have down here to have the numbers that they might have in Columbus or Cincinnati. It's hugely imperative that we have these tight-knit working relationships where we can lean on each other in times of need. You know, when something big happens in a Columbus or a Cincinnati, the resources that they have afforded to them allows them to handle it as one agency or one entity. We don't have that, and it's, you know, the good thing is we don't just have working relationships, we have personal relationships with the different agencies and with the different members of the agency. So it's not like when we show up on the scene, it's the first time that we've ever met somebody. We know each other, we know what each other's capabilities are, we also know each other's weaknesses, and we complement each other, and we work off those strengths and weaknesses, and that in turn provides for successful resolutions to crimes, and us going out here and eliminating the criminal element and keeping our citizens safe.
Absolutely. Barry?
Well, I'll say that, you know, the cooperation that we have with Sheriff Champlin's office, as well as the other departments in Gallia and Meigs County, is just unbelievable. We have both realized that, you know, one department, one man can't do it all. Can't remove the criminal element from our highways or from our communities, or make the roads safer. So we all work together as a team, and you know, I'm very proud to work with Matt on several of the initiatives we've done, and we've had great success as a not just as a department, but as a whole, all departments. And it's paramount that we keep going in that same direction.
I agree. I don't think there's, you know, and this has always been my belief, I don't believe there's room for personalities. You know, when you get personality conflicts in any organization, whether that's a corporation or that's law enforcement or in our educational institutions, those are just hurdles that we don't need to be putting up. We're all in this for the same goal.
Absolutely. And I know one of the big goals is to try to best we can fix this drug problem we have as a country and the state. Over the last couple of weeks, we got it from a perspective of a lieutenant call from his patrol post. We had Sergeant Sean Kelly on a couple weeks ago talking about the State Patrol's criminal patrol team. We had Matt Atwood, State Patrol Canine Unit. And I think this is going to be a good opportunity for the people to hear from it from a different angle from the Sheriff's Office. And we'd, I think, really like to hear basically what obviously we know what the problem is, but what your method of trying to attack that problem, and how you feel that you've been successful, and the things that you'd like to, if you could be more successful.
Sure, and I think that's the key. I think our success is measured by what's going on in our community and how safe our people feel. 1,000 arrests doesn't necessarily mean that we're successful if the people that we serve don't feel comfortable living in their own homes or taking their children for a walk down the street. So, what we've done is number one, we've joined forces with all the agencies within the county. We have proactively started enforcement efforts. We have been very vocal with the criminal element to allow them to know that we're coming for them, that we are going to come for them day and night. We're not going to sleep until we make our citizens feel safe. We've also tried to very vehemently open up lines of communication with our public. Ultimately, we go back to the numbers. We don't have the numbers to be everywhere all the time. But everybody lives in their neighborhood, and everybody knows what the normals are for their neighborhood. So the communication with the public, and the public telling us what's going on within their neighborhood or within their communities, so that we can work and investigate those leads and work on curbing the issues that they have in their areas, that's huge for us.
Well, and part of that teamwork we were talking about is, I know the county prosecutor, Jason Holdren, will be a guest here sometime in the next couple of weeks. If you want to speak a little bit about how much it helps to have a prosecutor that's fully on board.
It's huge. It's huge. I can't say enough about Jason and his prosecutorial team, his office in general. I can tell you that Jason and I communicate daily. I communicate with his staff daily, as do my investigators, as do my road staff, and I'm sure Lieutenant Call's staff does as well. We've got an open line of communication to him and his staff, whether it's questions, whether it's what direction we need to go on an investigation. So those things are huge. Their involvement, Jason spent several nights in the interview room with us. He's not afraid to come out in the middle of the night, which enhances our ability to do our job more effectively, more efficiently, and it allows us to create a product for him to go to court with that he's confident that he can prosecute and get justice for our victims.
A couple questions come up. I don't know if I probably didn't tell you guys that some people can email questions in, and since we brought up the county prosecutor, a lot of people may not realize what their role in this is. Like we've just talked about how helpful they are, and Mr. Holdren is extremely helpful, but just maybe briefly just what does a county prosecutor do? And he'll be here in a couple of weeks to explain it, but just so they know what integral part that he does play.
And again, I'll let Jason explain a lot of the inner workings of his office, but he has more responsibilities than just prosecuting crime. He's a representative for all our township trustees. He's also a representative for our county commissioners, and he's the legal counsel that guides and directs them. So for him to be able to divide himself and divide his office to cover all those responsibilities and also serve the people by way of enforcing the criminal element and prosecuting the crimes that we bring to him is huge to us.
And you're right, he can get into the integral parts of it, but that gives a good brief idea of what the role that the prosecutor does play. Obviously, it's in the paper a lot, and we just talked a lot about the opioid problems and the drug problem you're attacking, but there's a lot of other crimes out there that I know you have to be multi-facet trying to attack, but you have some other crimes that you'd like to maybe talk about how you're dealing with, or to warn people on, or make people aware of if there's any scams, or just, I know you guys are doing a lot more than just getting drug people.
Sure. So a lot of it has direct connections to the drug crimes. Obviously, as we all know, the substance abuse epidemic is fueled by a lot of other things, be that property crimes, be that violent crimes. A lot of times we'll have property crimes such as breaking and enterings or burglaries to residents. We'll have commercial thefts, thefts from vehicles, things along those lines. Most of the time, those are generally committed by people who are suffering or are in substance abuse issues. But what we encourage people to do is watch for what's not normal around you. Watch for what looks suspicious. If it doesn't look right, it's probably not right. You know, the National Neighborhood Watch motto is, if you see something, say something. And a lot of people get locked into this mindset, well, somebody else will call, somebody else will report it. Well, it's very imperative that everybody feels connected to our law enforcement community and feels comfortable enough that they can pick up the phone and call and say, I was in such and such a place and I saw this car and this person and something didn't look right about it. You know, we in law enforcement, we're always taught to trust our gut. If your gut tells you something's not right, there's a reason for that. You know, God gives us the ability to feel and sense things. So if you feel and sense things, please don't hesitate to pick up the phone, give us a call, let us know what's going on. And it may be nothing, but let us validate that or nullify that.
What avenues can people get a hold of your department? Just, I'm sure there's more on the phone. You got, and if you want to talk about your website a little bit, because it's a very nice website.
Sure. So we use several different mechanisms. As most people know, social media. We've been very present on social media. Our Facebook page has a messenger attached to it. All my administrative staff and my investigation staff has access to that and the ability to communicate with people via that. We also have a tip page on our website. We also have a telephone tip line, which is 740-446-6555, or you can contact our dispatch number through the Gallia County 911 service, which is 740-446-1221. So there's many different ways, some of them with that provide for anonymity, some of them that provide for you to identify yourself and for us to follow up with you in the future. But whether it's anonymous or it's out in the open, we'd like to hear from you. We'd like to know what's going on.
Thank you. Barry, same thing. I mean, if someone sees a DUI driver, they're in a rest area, they're witnessing a drug transaction go down, what are the avenues that they can get a hold of?
They can call their local patrol post. This post is dispatched out of Athens, Ohio. Also, we have a fairly new number. It's pound 677. You can dial that, and it rings into our hub in Columbus. And they'll take the call, and then they will, you know, push that call out to whatever post it needs to go to. And or you can call 911, just like Sheriff said. You know, a lot of times if we get calls and maybe we don't have the manpower, don't have the resources to send somebody, we will bounce that off the Sheriff's office or maybe the Gallipolis Police Department or whoever can help us, and vice versa. They do the same thing with calls. I know sometimes they are tied up on calls with service, and they get calls, and sometimes we respond for them as well. So basically the same thing, but as the 911 center with the Sheriff's office, but the pound 677.
One of the questions is, and it's a good question, is are people for the most part respectful? I know you've had different perspectives as, you know, as a deputy and then, you know, Gallipolis Police Department, but the thing that they've told me and Barry, and probably the same thing when you went through your schools, is they told us as troopers is someone may only have one contact in their entire life with a police officer, and you may be that contact, and how you treat them is how they will look at law enforcement or that department for their entire lives. Just an example we had yesterday, a really nice lady brought in a bunch of toys and some things to give to the students, some soap and all kind of stuff, and she did it for one reason, because she said she came into our department a couple times and the officers treated her with great dignity and respect, and she felt like she was asking them stupid questions and they really treated her well, and she felt like they were moving. She wanted to give some items to somebody that would make good use of it and get it to the right place, and that's because, and I'm thankful my guys treated this nice woman with dignity and respect. But just in your guys' view, I mean, we all watch TV and we see people throwing stuff and chanting and all kind of stuff, but from your perspectives, how do you feel that your departments are being treated? And you'd mentioned something earlier, being in Southern Ohio, it's a little bit different.
It is different.
You were treated, the fire departments, the EMTs, everybody, it's just not that it's not good every place else, but
Sure.
it just seems like it's just a higher level of cooperation and everybody's on the same team.
Yes, so, you know, and I won't speak for Barry, I'll let him answer, but we both live and work within we live within the communities that we work in. We receive so much, and I say so much, I mean it's huge, the public support that we've got since I've been in office. The support that we felt from our communities for what we're doing and the direction that we're heading has been huge. I think that it's important for us as police, you know, there's a lot of negative connotation on law enforcement nationally. I don't feel like we have that here. I'm thankful for the relationships that we have with our citizens and our public here, and I think it's our job to encourage those relationships. You know, this is all about relationships. We should constantly be building relationships with the citizens that we serve. You know, we do a lot of different things. One of the things that I started when I was at the police department was our annual hat drive around Christmas time to purchase Christmas gift for kids. We've got some things working right now to provide us with some funding through monetary donations to be able to provide dinners for people if they're out of dinners, or help people who are just generally in need. So I think that we continue to work on building those relationships with our citizens. I think our citizens treat us with the utmost respect. You know, we're obviously going to have our situations where we come across people, but those are few and far between, and I feel like the support that we get for the public for the job that we're doing is huge.
Good.
I'd have to agree that the support we get from the public, the comments we give from the public, is nothing but support. For the most part, they understand the situation we're in as far as this drug epidemic we're dealing with. You know, I've had the privilege to give a couple of presentations there this fall and early or late summer, talking about some of the stuff that my guys have accomplished at the post. And you know, after I give those presentations, and you know, they hear the stats, they hear the numbers, and know they come up and they think, you know, want me to thank those guys for going out and doing our job. And it's a tough job, and but it can be a rewarding job too. You know, we do make a difference, and the support we have from the community here is much appreciated.
Well, and you know, when you go on a national level, it just seems like when something bad happens, you look at 9/11, the Boston Marathon bombing, the shooting of the 9 police officers in Dallas. There's a great deal of love for law enforcement after one of those events, but then that wears off. But I think my experience in Southern Ohio, like we just talked about, is that never goes away.
I feel the same way. I think those bonds between us and our public are strong, have always been strong, and continue to grow in strength every day.
TV is I mean, you can't turn a channel and not find a police TV show. And one of the questions has been, how do you guys feel that police are portrayed on TV? Is it something that's accurate, partly accurate? Have an opinion?
It's not as glamorous, I'll tell you that, as it is on TV.
And crimes get solved really fast.
Yeah, it is frustrating. I know it's frustrating for the public because they watch the Law and Order shows that, you know, they solve a double homicide in 45 minutes or something like that. And unfortunately, in the real world, it doesn't work that way. There's a lot of it's a process, there's a protocol that we got to go through each investigation, and unfortunately that takes time to develop. And also, you know, you do your interviews and so forth, but yeah, it's not near as glamorous as what it's portrayed on TV.
They never get cold or wet or hungry, do they?
Right, yeah.
I would have to agree. I think you know, situation comedies or situation TV shows provide us with a huge hurdle. Make it really hard for us to communicate with our victims what a crime investigation actually looks like. You know, it's my investigative staff is like you said, they're not only are they competent, they're phenomenal. I've got 2 of the best in the business as far as I'm concerned. They break a crime down and do a thorough investigation like nothing I've ever seen before, but they are meticulous. They are attention to detail oriented, and they make sure that when they get done with the investigation, it's complete, thorough, and successful. And it's the end product that the prosecutor needs to convict a criminal and provide justice for the citizens. but that doesn't happen in that hour. You know, so that takes time. It takes time to do things right, and you know, public perception that this can be done quick, that we can send something to a lab and have the results back before we hang up the phone with the lab. That's not always true, because on the state level it takes time. Those labs are overburdened and overtaxed, and it takes time for them to process that information and get it back to us. So it does create a little bit of an Achilles heel sometimes. That's not something that we can't communicate and work our way through, but TV is TV, and it's going to be what it's going to be.
Well, I think along with that, with the guys you mentioned being meticulous, that just goes back to the drive, the hard work that our men and women want to do. They want to do the job right. They don't want to be second guessed, or they don't want to miss something that may jeopardize the investigation. So I think all that falls back on the hard work and dedication that that we both have good people working.
Yes.
And I think a couple shows like Live PD and Cops have helped the perception a little bit better. It really makes people sort of see how things sort of really are. I mean, I'm sure that gets filtered down a little bit, but it's not like the sitcoms and things like that. Sheriff, if you had, other than money, and that may be what you will go at, but what tools would help you fight the crime in Gallia County? I mean,
well, money. You know, resources cost money. Obviously, we're working with the tax base that we have here in Gallia County, and my goal as a sheriff is to provide A+ services with the resources that we have. You know, a lot of times that's hard living within the constrictions of the budget that we have, especially with our jail industry, inflation that we have these days, you know, just based on the overall population size. But ultimately, my goal is to hire good people. I seen a question that just came across our screen right now about how do you get into law enforcement. From my perspective, you know, we hire people for our road patrol jobs that are already peace officer certified. We also hire people for our corrections field, and we do in-house training, and then we send those people to our corrections academy. Our application process is actually on our website, so if there's somebody interested out there that would like to apply for a job, please jump on galliasheriff.org, look at the job opportunities tab, and feel free to reach out with us and have a conversation. I'd love to have those conversations.
Same thing with the highway patrol. We can go to on our website, and there's a tab there for recruiting or recruitment, and you can click on that tab, and it'll give you information how to go about contacting our recruitment section to schedule a time where you can go in and sit down and talk to one of our recruiters about applying for the position of a state trooper.
And I think when you listen to people's stories, I think Matt Atwood, when we had him here, and Sean Kelly, I've heard him talk a few times, is a lot of times people see another officer interact with them, whether it's a DARE officer, whether they see you at a speech, they see Barry, you know, he was at the Safety Council a couple weeks ago, but a couple of the troopers that we're aware of, and I'm sure the same thing with sheriff's office people, is something happened. There was an emergency, and they saw a trooper, they saw a deputy, they saw a police officer that handled something right and professionally, and they decided that's what I want to become. And that's where, you know, you go back to treating people with dignity and respect and being professional. And we're out of time, and I'd just like to say that went really fast because we've had a great guest, Sheriff. We're very honored to have you here.
Appreciate it.
Barry, as always, and thank you for watching Safety Net, and we'll see you next time.